Welcome back, viewers, and if you're just joining us, this is the Love Bag Show with me, Charity Godons, and today in studio, as I had said earlier, is Counsellor Grace Kariuki NDERITU. The topic we've been talking about is self-awareness, or rather self-realization. So back to you, Counsellor Grace. I follow you a lot on Facebook. I follow you on your Twitter handle. I see what you post on your YouTube channel, and I must say that I'm so much amazed by what you talk about. So this, you're a counselor. Is it something that you wanted to do when you were young, or is it a personal experience that drove you to being a counselor? Please tell us about that.
My journey as a counselor, not that I knew what it was, but it started when I was very young. Growing up at home, I wasn't very happy with my family. Like most people do, you wish that you had a different family. And so I do remember being 12, and something had happened between my parents. They were not very happy with each other. And I remember saying to myself, when I grow up, I want to study why people behave the way they do. And so as early as that, I didn't have the realization at that point that I wanted to be a counselor. I don't even think I knew what that is. But I traced back my journey to that I wanted to understand human behavior. And so I grew up and I became a teenager. And as teenagers, we go through stuff. And I went through the normal struggle, the depression, the feeling like you're not good enough, you're too tall, you're too thin, you're whatever. You know, and I struggled just like any other teenager. But even through that, I really wanted to understand myself. I wanted to know who I was. So I pursued religion. I was in church with my parents, and I was very, very active there. So I was very aware of God. I was aware of the fact that He's in the world and He loves us, and I knew the gospel, I knew the scriptures and all that. At 13, I gave my life to Christ, and I began my journey as a Christian. And it was very difficult. Number one, I couldn't wake up at 5 and pray for an hour like everybody else. So I'm in boarding school, and it's very difficult to do all this. So I really thought that maybe God wasn't interested in me because I can't do the things I thought I should do. Come into my 20s, and I again had an encounter with God when I was 20. I joined Kenya Polytechnic to study secretarial. And that's where because my yearning for God was so heavy, but I didn't know how. And so when I got into Kenya Poly, I met the Christian Union, I rededicated my life to Christ, and I went through discipleship. And in the process of that, I actually found a church that was Ridgeways Baptist Church, and I joined the church. I got baptized, I started growing as a Christian. And so I started realizing down the line that I thought that I was called to be a music person, and so I was singing in the church, I was leading worship, but I wasn't always that great of a singer, but I had a lot of confidence, and of course now I had a lot of love for anything that I tried to do. I'm a very passionate person, and so people were drawn by my passion. But that doesn't mean that I was really, really good. But all through this time, I struggled with accepting myself. I didn't like myself. So I had my own struggles with depression and anxiety and not really knowing who I am. I felt like I was just kind of floating through life. So fast forward, I finish Kenya Poly. I start working with the Baptist Missions as a receptionist. Then I become a secretary, an executive secretary, and I begin to grow, and I begin to really give my life to people in the church. So I'm working with the youth, with the women, I'm teaching Sunday school, I'm leading worship, I'm really growing, but it's almost like it used to feel like I can't look myself in the mirror. It's like I'm watching somebody else's life. I didn't feel like I really knew myself. No. So I desired to know me. I used to watch Oprah Winfrey show. Yes. And I used to say, oh, one day I'm going to sit on that seat and tell my story. because I wanted to know people, but I wanted also to be known. So I spent a lot of time knowing people, helping people, but I didn't know myself that well. When I was 26, I remember having a conversation with God. It was a difficult time in our family life, and I was very unhappy. And I remember God asking me, Grace, do you love yourself? And I couldn't answer that question. And then it was that process of actually hearing God ask me that, I started thinking, really, do I even... No, I don't even like looking at myself in the mirror. And so I started a journey of learning how to discover myself, how to like myself, how to embrace who I am. And the scriptures became very alive to me when God would say, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, first of all, if you don't know yourself, you can't love yourself. And so if you don't love yourself, you are jealous of others. You know, you can't love them. You're envious, you are jealous of them. And you stay in this space where you feel that other people are more blessed than you. Why, God, are you not doing stuff for me? But even when he does, you don't recognize it because you think you're not good enough. And so that is the realization I had. And for whatever reason, usually when you have these personal aha moments, you tend to start by the way you look. So I went to the salon and I had my hair permed for the first time when I was around 26, 27. And I remember walking in church, and one of the young men in the singing group, we were going for practice here. And he says to me, Grace, you look very different. You are glowing, you look, and I am laughing inside because I'm thinking, God had a conversation with me this week that I don't love myself. And suddenly, because of that, I started a journey of self-discovery. I was smiling more. And then a lady in my church, in my work, an American lady, she would tell me, Grace, why you don't smile enough? And she would come into my office every morning and would say, hi, sunshine. So I would smile, and she would say to me, there you go, I love that smile. So she and another lady, another older lady, they are the ones who really kind of helped me, like I was talking about feedback, where you are getting feedback from others. You have a beautiful smile. You know, when you smile, your eyes sparkle or whatever. But so this journey started there. And then after that, I wanted to go back to school. And God, I didn't know what I wanted to study. I just knew I loved to do music and I loved to work with the youth. So I thought that's what I was going to do. But I eventually, when I started to look for schools, I decided to go abroad. You know, so I started looking for a school in the US. And then I found that the courses I wanted to do, I can't do that. So I chose to do Christian ministry and psychology.
What was the reason for you not doing those courses?
Because I wanted to do I wanted to do music. But I'm not that. In the US, if you want to do music, you actually do, you know, classical, you know, the technical stuff. You learn the piano. But me, I was thinking more of singing. And I realized that's not the career I want. So eventually, you know, that crystallized into the fact that I wanted to do more of helping people. And so youth ministry was in my mind. But then when I got there, I did a bachelor's in Christian ministry with psychology. And then I went to master now in family. By that time, things are becoming clear to me what really my calling is. And I did a lot of self-discovery through looking at spiritual gifts, my personality, the giftings I have, and so a lot of things in discovering who is this Grace Kariuki. So it was a journey that ended in me doing marriage and family. Now that goes back. Remember where I started? Yes. 12 years old, unhappy with my family, and wondering why my parents can't make a marriage work. Because if a marriage is not working, the kids suffer. And I developed, as a young person, I had nightmares, used to wet the bed because of anxiety and fear. And so you see now, that was when it started. and it ends with me getting a master's in marriage and family therapy. And I love doing that. Today I see couples, or that's my job. I sit in the office and I see couples. So that is how my journey into counseling started. There is no way you can help people if you yourself have, in counseling for instance, if you're going to work with people, you've got to know yourself. You've got to understand who you are and what you are about, because that's the way that you're going to connect with people.
Yeah, I think that's what your calling was, because I've been to your office not once or twice, and I must admit that I always find a very long queue of people waiting to come and hear from you. So, yeah. Viewers, we are going to go yet on another break, so don't touch that dial. We are going to be right back.